Live. Oh my god, I am so excited. I need to contain myself. See, my excitement just flew through your phone. Do you see that? That's what happens. My energy is coming in hot. All right, with that being said, welcome to the inner room with Out of My Damn Mind. This is the space where walls fall away, where stories don't just get told, they land, messy, real, and alive. Here, writers open the doors to what drives them, what haunts them, and what keeps them going. Every voice has its own rhythm, its own scars, its own sparks, and together we trace the threads that hold us, break us, and connect us all. It is not often, but apparently I decided the month of April was Leo Center, and my last co host, and now my current co host, and myself were all Leos. And I am super excited to have the amazing Christina Ray return. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
Like literally always. I have claimed you as one of my favorite people, so I appreciate that. You know, you're here. Your energy is always great, and I'm excited because if anybody's new here, Jerry, Zoe, Amber, Sarah, Andreas, I curate 20 questions for my co-host, but this one is a special themed one. It's an embodiment themed one, and I think Christina is literally the perfect person to have this conversation with. If you're like me, don't worry. Not all of us know what the hell that means, but we're gonna stumble and bumble and figure it out together. So I love that you love my chain. It is like my favorite thing. It's so basic. It was my 30th birthday gift from my sister. But thank you. But yeah, so I'm gonna shoot with my first one. I'm just gonna be real. I hear embodiment and my brain kind of short circuits. What does that actually mean in plain human terms to you?
Okay, well, and again, well, I think I said this last time that when I first kind of started on my spiritual journey, I didn't know what anything meant. Like, I didn't know any of the lingo. I didn't know, like, seriously, words like awakening and enlightenment, no one was saying that yet. I didn't know those words. So I didn't know, nobody was talking about healing. No one was talking shadow work. No one I mean, like this. So when things started happening to me and I started figuring things out, I didn't know what to call it. I didn't know what it was. I just was doing it. And sometimes I would make up words to so I could communicate. you
To
know,
kind of explain what you were feeling to somebody else,
right.
yeah.
Fact, when I first became aware of my ego, I went through an ego dissolution before I even knew what ego was. I had the experience and I didn't know what to call it. My son actually came up with the term of clone. And that's what
Mhm.
I called it for a long time because I didn't know the terminology. So right away I want to say you don't have to know what anything means to actually experience it. So some of you may be experiencing embodiment even though you don't actually know what
Oh,
that means.
that's yeah.
So um so for me, embodiment, and I'm just like anything, everybody's going to have their own, perspective and way of understanding things, but it's basically taking the concepts and ideas that are in your head and things and bringing them into your lived experience. So
That is
you can,
great human terms, by the way. I love the way that you kind of made that very human. Thank you.
well, I'm glad because, I'm just working with how I would, explain something. It's not like I went and, read a book on this or anything. So, so for me, we can understand something and we can know what it means, but that doesn't mean our heart or our body understands it and knows what it
Mhm.
means. So, embodiment is living, finding a way to live out what you think or these ideas that you hold. And that's not to say that once you start embodying something that it's like completely permanent. Like you can sometimes find yourself not aligned with something that you were, things can come in, triggers can happen, trauma can happen, stuff can happen to where you find that you're not quite as close to that embodiment. And sometimes it can take you a while to get back to it. And other times, um, especially if you've been practicing it for a long time, it might just take, a couple breaths and then you're back.
Exactly. Yeah. Hmm.
So, um, so it's not like I think there's like this fear of being a hypocrite a lot of times. And so anytime we find ourselves not necessarily living up to something that we have ever talked about or have ever or written about or whatever, we suddenly feel like, oh no, I'm a hypocrite, or there's something wrong with me, or I've strayed from the path, or whatever. And I think that's kind of a fallacy. And there's ebbs and flows. And the phrase healing isn't linear has become popular, and it's not. So I mean, to go back and forth, there's nothing really wrong with that. That gives you a new perspective and a new understanding and a new awareness when things like that happen. The whole point is to be aware. And so if you start to feel like you're not embodying something anymore, you're not really living it out. It's not like there's anything wrong with you. It just gives you a chance to, figure out
Call it
why.
recalibration.
Yeah, yeah,
That's what I would call it. It's like, all right, something's out of whack and I have to just spend some time processing and diagnosing what it is and,
right.
continuing to move forward in whatever that is.
It's like something you're out of alignment because, and I think, alignment and embodiment go hand in hand, these concepts. I think that sometimes when you're out of alignment, it can be because of something you're doing, because of something, you've started or stopped doing, or it can be something like that. Other times it can just be like your mental diet, what's coming in, what you're watching, what you're reading, what you're listening to, all those types of things can affect that. And then other times it could just be that you're picking up on the energy around you from what's happening in the collective. So it's there's no blame or fault to necessarily try and, oh, this is, it's more just about understanding and then figuring out how to get back to it.
Yeah, I love that. I love all of this. I love where we're gonna go because this is just like the little here's a little peek of what this conversation will lead. Because there's a lot of things that you touched on that I feel like I had like other questions that may dig a little bit deeper in. But real quick, just wanted to welcome in a couple of guests, and I see a couple of comments. So, uh, Laura, Susan, RG, the secret ingredient, motherhood. Thanks for joining. Elijah says you could feel contradicting feelings, and I think it's those in those moments where you also have to like decide to give yourself grace because it's also okay, right? I think
Yes.
that was the point of what you were saying.
Uh,
Diana, thanks for joining Notes for the Hill. Hello, hello. Elijah also said can feel both confused and understand it. I love when I'm in that space, right? Because it's like, damn, I feel like I'm confused, but I also understand exactly what it is, and it's like it's just because when we understand it and it's not what we want, I think that's why it leaves us confused. It's like
right.
why couldn't why couldn't I have it like that? Even though I understand why it's like this, I don't understand why it can't be the way that I want it, you know?
Yeah, I do understand.
I think a lot of people probably could, if they're honest with themselves. Beautifully broken, thanks for jumping in. She just wanted to say hello and show support. Love what you do here. Going geocaching with Chief. Have fun, stay safe, cash flow collective. Thanks for joining. Notes from the Hill said hello. The secret ingredient said Christina with a pretty red rose. Elijah said it's so fun. Yeah, exactly. All right, now that we've caught up a bit, thank you all for being here. We are just getting started. If you don't know the lovely human here, well, I don't know where she is on your screen, but that's Christina, and then I'm obviously out of my damn mind, also known as Marlena. Um, I have amazing embodiment themed questions for Christina. So please stick around. If you guys have any questions about anything that we're talking about, feel free to drop it in the chat. We love having a all included conversation. What's a recent moment where you caught yourself being completely out of alignment?
Um, so let's see. um,
If you don't have one, that's actually pretty good. And I could actually go with, what did you actually do in that moment, not the ideal version or anything like that. But if you don't have an aligned moment, um, right now, that means I
I
feel like you think you're living pretty embodied in the way that you feel like you should be, and that is a that's a fucking goal. That's a goal. Like, so a lot of people would like to feel like there isn't no tension or restriction amongst their body and mind, and they're fluidly moving through life the way that they feel like they should. So I can respect it.
I well, I can say that, I mean, I'm not sure how recently this was, but I do have, I
For
mean,
example,
yeah, so some like a while back, I feel like I was working through where I would find myself with a challenge that I didn't particularly want to face. Like, I would, these different things were coming up, and I would notice it would send me almost into like a panic. So I could, everything was going great. I felt, you know, like I'm embodying what I believe, and I'm in alignment, and then suddenly something would come up that I felt like I basically I just don't want to face it. It's not anything I like, and I would sense like fear and panic, like, and it would be with something where I would feel like I had to take immediate action. This is what I started noticing, is that these things would come up in my life, and I'd suddenly feel like I have to know what to do right now, and I'd start to feel panicked, and I would, for a long time, when that would happen, I would kind of go into, I guess, uh, almost like a fight or flight, but it would feel like I was doing both at the same time, if
it'd be
that
like
makes sense.
yes, it'd be like that sometimes.
It's almost like trying, I'm trying to leave the situation and fight the situation at the same time. And I finally started, over time of observing myself do this. So I would, become aware that this was how I was reacting to these situations. I started to become aware that I was becoming panicked, and what it was compelling me to do was make decisions in the middle of my panicked state, and then usually I would go into action, and then in the action I'm like all just like, oh, blah 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 blah, and like almost like stumbling over, like imagine like somebody like tripping and falling, and like, the shelves down, like that's like what it would turn into, because I was now very much out of alignment. Everything I was doing was from a place of panic and fear. And so eventually, like, I remember the last time this kind of happened, what I did, I shouldn't say the last time, the last few times this happened, what I did was I resolved I wasn't going to do anything until the panic dissipated. So my what I've learned to do is, if I am faced with something that's causing me fear or panic, or pushing me into this, you have to figure it out right now. Like, it always feels so like urgent, like if you don't do it right now, the world is catastrophe
Yeah.
happening, you know. So I started resolving, I'm not going to do anything. I am going to do nothing until this panic dissipates. And so at first, like, it the first time I did that, it seemed like it took a couple days actually for me to move through that feeling, to where I actually felt calm again, and I could look at it and not feel so like it was almost like, why did I freak out so much over that thing once I finally got to the other side of it. And then that showed me that I didn't need to necessarily freak out over that thing. And
Right.
so over the course of this happening a few times, I started realizing that I could not be so invested in these scary things or these challenges or these things that we don't really like that come up in our life, that if I could take a step back and allow myself to find, my center, my alignment, whatever you want to call it. And so once I started realizing that, it's like then the panic starts to dissipate quicker and quicker. And so now, if something comes up, I mean, I might not even experience, like, I would have experienced that before. Now it's almost like I'm aware enough that sometimes I can just like move through it without, um, almost like keeping that playful attitude and realizing, okay, this can just be a playful challenge if I want it to be. I can treat this as a game if I want to. And so, that's kind of, I feel like it's still really new for me, but I feel like that's where I've, been coming to lately.
Well, Elijah and Notes from the Hill agree with you. Like, it's very hard to make decisions in a panic state. Like, it's very that's you know it's a tough task. But I feel like what I like when I was listening to you, my whole thing was I have like I've always had like such fast reactions. Like, I don't know if other people have, but it's like I don't even like think like I'm getting better. I used to have very fast reactions in whichever directions they were, and I feel like sometimes I just wrote about this in like my what comes out when I'm under pressure or whatever, and I just feel like that was like a very problem solving self, like, oh, I need this is a problem I need to figure out. And I feel like as I've gotten older, instead of me panicking at the problem, I'll just have like a resolution. Like it's like that's what has been developed and transsolved from it. But it is still sometimes harder for me to like know when to take the step back. Nothing I continue to do is going to make this situation better. And really
Right.
just let it sit and be for a bit before I try to come back. And I think that that is something in time that comes with skill. Because I don't think it's very easy for a lot of people to just like when something's in your face and it's acting like you're saying urgent and on fire and it's like all of a sudden like this is a thing. It's I think it's hard for most of us, some of us, all of us, none of us, um, to just be like no
It's
biggie,
hard.
no
It's
biggie.
hard. Yeah. It's hard to just like live normally with that there.
Yeah,
It's like you you want to give it all your attention, all your, your worry, your stress, whatever. You're going to focus on it even if you're like that's what happened the first time. Even though I was like, I'm not going to deal with this right now. I'm going to wait till this panic subsides. I still couldn't just like move on and just go about my day and be and do normal stuff.
right.
I was still,
So
he just had to sit there and like meditate and like move around and meditate and like say, it was like I couldn't really just go. I mean, there was no way I could have just went and read a book or wrote it was like I was too consumed by it.
right,
And so, and I think that's what pushes us to want to remedy it, is because we feel like we can't live normal until we do.
right,
I think for me the goal is to be able to be able to go, well, okay, that thing is there, and it's something that is there, that it's a challenge that I have to face, that I'm working on, whatever it is. But that doesn't mean that it has to take over all my everything in my life. It doesn't mean that it has to come in between. Like, I don't know if you've ever noticed this, but when things like that happen, you have a hard time, like if you're talking to people, you're having a hard time listening to what they're saying because you're like in your head. This is like the opposite of embodiment. You're like so in your head that you're like completely disembodied, almost like it's you're
Yeah.
not even aware of what you're doing. And like if you try and sit down and watch a movie, you don't know what you watched. If you try, because you were just thinking about that, you were in your head doing that. And um so my goal is to not to let these things basically control me, and to be able to stay connected to my body, to myself, to stay in alignment despite those things being there, and to eventually look at it as if, well, okay, so I don't really, that's not my favorite thing. I don't necessarily really enjoy that, but I can like, like when you're a kid and your parents are like, let's make a game out of cleaning up. It's kind of
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
It's like you can get some joy and delight out of these things that you used to think were just, awful things that you didn't want to deal with. There is a different perspective, and that's what I'm learning.
Mm. Yeah, I think for me, what has been able to really help me is thinking about it from a real sense of I'm a soul and a human experience. This is an experience. This is just an experience. This is like
Right.
this all is just an experience. Like
Yeah.
why be so serious about everything, right? Like it is
Exactly.
I literally came here to experience this, to learn
Yeah.
from this, to feel this, to take something more out of this once I'm done with it. And when I started looking at it like that, sometimes it makes it easier. So like
Yeah.
it's not like me trying to be like delusional about life or anything. It's just like I think it just makes it more like the fun where I can just be like, okay, this is an experience. What am I supposed to learn from this? Like now it's like detective gadget. Like where am I going? What do I need to know? Like and the faster that I can complete this and I get to go to the next level. Like like that's the kind of the way that I have had to maybe think about it for myself so I can slow down because I've been thinking a lot about it lately. Like I don't really remember how I was 2 years ago, 4 years ago, 5 years ago. I think I'm a lot different now. And I think I'm so far from those versions, and that's why it's kind of hard for me to reflect on that. So I do feel like there are levels, or however people want to look at it, to continue to get to where you are your truest self, you are embodied in why you're supposed to be here. And maybe, at that point, life gets boring. Who knows? I don't know. So why not just enjoy the ride until you're there? Um, But before we get into another question, there's loads of comments, but I just wanted to welcome in the bathrobe guy. He just says, greeting everyone, peace, love, and kindness. I always appreciate you popping in and sending that. Notes from the Hill said, it's like being curious, like, how can I respond to this? Yeah, and I think when you have that type of approach, I think you're less likely to feel like it's urgent and, oh my God, and like reacting from panic, as Christine was saying. So, you know,
Yeah.
um, I think it's helpful that everybody finds a perspective that helps them kind of be able to shift this from panic to fun or however joy or gratitude or however you want to the positive angle of all of that stuff.
Even if you just have to feel a sense of, maybe you're not able to feel joy or like positive emotions, if you can at least start feeling neutral about it, you are on your way.
Mhm.
So that's kind of where what I started with, just trying to feel neutral about it, not so, and you know not so, like this
Yeah.
is just
Yeah.
so
Uh, Calibrated Chaos said they just got out of the movies and hello. And I'm like, now I need to know what movie. Like you can't say that. Did you go see Michael Jackson? Like my mom did, said it was great. If you love his music, go see it. I'm like, it's not giving the whole truth. It's not giving the whole truth. Elijah, thanks for stopping in. We adore and love you as well, my friend. Please be safe up there. And yes, Michael Jackson. Good. I hope you enjoyed it. Since you're just joining us, this is Christina Ray, and we're just talking a little bit about embodiment, which is not being calibrated. So I'm supposed to go. I'm supposed to. My sister wants to go take my nephew to see it because it's history. Apparently, he's part of history. So But I want to shift a little bit. You recently wrote about intuition. So when you say intuition is reading what we're already broadcasting. How do I know I'm not just overthinking or spiraling?
That's a good question. Um, so intuition is one of those things that it's really a personal thing. So even when I talk about it or write about it, I'm writing about it from my perspective, and I do understand because it is something that's so, I mean, it's not a it's not really a tangible concept that we can all agree on or even define. So
It
there's
can't be quantified. Everybody's
right.
experience with it is going to be different. I get what you're saying.
And so I say that because different people are going to perceive what I'm saying, and I just want to make sure that I don't come across dogmatic, I guess, when I
You're good. Even if you do, who gives up? That's what I say. Because that means that somebody took it in probably in the incorrect way, and that says more about them than to you. So don't you worry about that, my friend.
so with intuition, it is something that is felt. Like you said, how do you know you're not just overthinking or spiraling, or um it's something that I feel like you feel it more than, sure, it can show up like images and thoughts and words and things like that, but it's also accompanied with like a feeling in your body. And with intuition, it feels more expansive,
Mm,
where being stuck in your head and overthinking things has a tendency to feel more constrictive. Um, so a lot of times, if there's fear involved, it's usually not intuition, and that goes against almost everything that we see. Like when we like movies and TV and books love to like talk about intuition as if it's like you you saw something was going to happen, and it's like almost like this dun dun dun, and so you didn't get on the plane and that day, and so you
yeah.
avoided whatever.
That's very true. That is very true now that I think about that. Like that is definitely a misconception that likes to be Hollywood, I would say, like glamorized a bit.
Yes, and I think, but then it's become almost part of our, I feel like, the collective psyche to see it that way. So
Mm.
that I notice, I mean, on Substack, I will notice this a lot, is in like notes and stuff, like people will talk about almost like they had this their intuition told them something, and a lot of times it is like about this bad thing that was going to happen, and it told them that, and so they were able to avoid that. And I'm not going to say that your intuition never will help you avoid things. I'm not, but it's usually not accompanied by this like sense of doom or fear. It's like you probably won't realize that your intuition is moving you in a certain way till after the fact. It's when you look until you look back on it. So intuition, it generally, it has a feeling of like, I would say, you feel good. You feel, there's this like expanded energy when you feel it. And um again, though, I mean, it might be showing you sometimes something to show you that you are off track. So it's not like it'll never show you anything of that nature. But when it shows it to you, like say your intuition shows you that if you have an interaction with this person, it's going to, you know, something bad's going to happen. I don't know, whatever.
Right.
And so you feel like I better not do that. I should avoid that to prevent this bad thing from happening. Um that's not really what intuition, in my opinion, is usually trying to tell you. It's usually just showing you that in your state right now, in your current state, what you're cultivating inside of you right now, if you have an interaction with this person, this is what's likely to happen. It's showing you that so that if you want to have an interaction with that person and you want something good to happen, you can now realign yourself. You can now do something about it. You can change the way you feel and the way you're thinking about it to where you change that prophecy. See,
Right.
it's like we think like intuition is showing us these prophecies that are set in stone. Like prophecy, if we want to use that term, because that's where like this all kind of comes from. It, it's not, nothing is set in stone. There is no like, this person is destined to do this. It's
Right.
all, we're deciding all of that moment to moment to moment. So if you see your future, if your intuition shows you something that's coming up in your future and you don't like what you see, it's showing you that so you can do something about it.
Mm.
Not so that you can say this is what's going to happen, and oh, I'm so glad I can avoid all that. It's showing it to you so that you can do something about it.
I feel like I had a really intuition driven day in the way that people probably are going to be like, all right, maybe you're stretching it, but I feel like it's when I make decisions that I don't even think about, that's when I'm like, it's leading. And today apparently it was a care for me day. I woke up this morning and literally 8 o'clock in the morning I text my barber, do you have an opening? He was like 9 a.m. So an hour later. And I was like, cool, I'll be there. And it's like, did I need a haircut? I don't know. I probably, because probably for days I was like, I need to fix this or whatever. So like boom, 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 woke up, made the decision, went to go get my haircut. Then I was like, you know what? I'm gonna get myself a bagel. But I'll be good. I'll get a whole wheat bagel. I'll treat myself to breakfast. I put gas in my car. Everything was just like a flow of this is what I want to do. And then I treated myself to some type of special honey, right? And that was just me making like decisions without really feeling like I was making a decision. Like I was just doing life. And I feel like that's kind of what you kind of are trying to like interpret what intuition could be like as opposed to what we're constantly shown it is, apparently.
Actually, what you described is a very good example of embodiment. You were embodying love for yourself. You loved yourself enough to just tune in and just listen to what you wanted, and going with this flow of love inside of you without second guessing, without going back and forth. Should I do this? Is this good? Is this bad? What if blah, 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 blah. You you were embodying self-love, and you were going from moment to moment aligned with that. And so that, I feel like that's a great example of embodying self-love, what you just described.
Well, if you guys didn't know, that's how you do it. No, just kidding. But honestly, there are days that when I wake up and it does feel a little bit easier and aligned and smoother. And I try to convince myself that I'm worth $40 every 2 weeks, and like those things. And my sister laughs at me like, "You were always worth $40 every 2 weeks," and I'm like, "Well, I have to tell myself that because when money isn't something that just flows in, which is a mindset that I'm trying to work on so that it doesn't always seems so difficult. So that's the consciousness of me just being like, no, I can always get it back. Like it'll
Right.
always come back. I am worth the $40 or the $10 for my breakfast or whatever amount. Like it is worth it for me because guess what? I was happy all day. All day. And why wouldn't I be? I had the opportunity to sit across from Christina Ray again. Come on now. I had to look spiffy. I didn't my barber every time I go and he's like, you want it short again? And I'm like, yes, get on the plan that we're doing buzz cut until I say otherwise, okay? So every time I come here, it's gonna be buzz cut until I say otherwise. Until for some reason what's speaking to me is grow the bitch out. Let's have some hair in your head. And right now that's not where I'm at. So I do appreciate this conversation very much. So like thank you for sitting here with us. Carlos and Nicole, thanks for joining. Notes from the Hill said to speak your mind, and then also said, I feel like I know when it's intuition now because I've missed it so many times. Now I like grab on it, and I do feel like that is part of the process, right?
Yeah.
Like I always used to tell, because before in my previous life when I was a retail store manager, I used to tell my associates like, um, the sometimes the fastest way to succeed is to actually fail.
Mhm.
Like you learn more from your failures than you do from your successes, right? So
Oh
if you're
yeah.
always winning, then you're never tweaking anything about yourself. If you're always failing, not always, but if you fail, then you learn, and then that's sometimes a great thing.
Yeah, definitely. Like, I know when I first started learning about intuition years ago, I started recognizing the times when I said, I should have listened. And it was like I was becoming aware that there had been something inside of me that kind of told me something.
Mm,
It was like almost like I wasn't giving myself permission to listen to it. I felt like
mhm,
I ignore that for some reason. And this is like so long ago. Now that seems so weird to me to think that I would think that I shouldn't listen to something inside of me. But back then when I was first kind of starting on my spiritual path, I had been conditioned to, listen to logic, listen to the Bible, listen because I had come from an evangelical Christian background. And so it was like you listen to those things, the stuff that's coming from inside of you, you can't trust. And it's the opposite, in my opinion. Listening to what's inside of you is what you can trust.
right.
Sometimes those voices out there, those are the voices you don't necessarily, you want to be careful and make sure they're in alignment with your inner voice.
Right. Yeah, I think I ventured this world for a really long time being very naive because I'm not manipulative, that other people are not manipulative. And
Hmm.
and to discover how wrong that is was fascinating for me. Beautifully broken said, hell yeah, big opposite. I just yeah. Anyways, um there was another question I wanted to ask you a little bit about the intuition, but when you said I should have listened, I literally was like, oh, I have said that a lot to myself. Not, I don't want to say a lot, but more than enough. And I still feel like I have those moments where I'm like, damn, I knew I should have done something different. Like I call it out in the moment. So it is fascinating that we do know. We always know. All right. Have you ever felt like your intuition was loud but still wrong? Or was it just showing you where you were at mentally?
um I don't know that I've experienced where I felt like it was wrong. Um, I think there were times when I almost wanted to think that.
Mm,
Like, I think there were times in my life where I I had intuition about something, and instead of taking the time to figure out what I could do, or like to do like to really go in and figure out how to change what I was seeing, I just decided to almost like pretend like oh no, that like it's almost like I convinced myself that I did that even though I didn't. Like I wanted to tell myself that it was going to be okay. So like once you realize that your intuition is showing you things so that you can do something to change certain trajectories, I think there's a temptation to then just like to think that all you have to do is just tell yourself it's not going to be that way. There and it's not, I haven't found that it's that simple, and maybe it can be that simple, but in general I usually have to figure out something. There's something to be learned there about. So if I'm seeing a trajectory, like if I'm seeing that if I go down this road, this thing is most likely going to happen, and I don't want that thing to happen, I can't just go, I don't want that thing to happen, and
Yeah.
think that that's, and I, there was a temptation for me to do that, and so then I did that a couple times and then felt almost like, well, my intuition got it wrong. Like almost like my intuition showed me this, I became aware of it. So then I said, well, I don't want that. And that should have been the end of it. And almost like I wanted to blame my intuition for that, because I thought, well, since I saw it and I decided that isn't what I wanted, it should have changed. Um, but in actuality, I had to more understand, well, why that was going to happen. What was I doing? What was I what was I cultivating in my life at the time that was setting that trajectory? And
Mm.
so what it meant was there was going to need to be some sort of change in me. I was going to need to change in some way, whether it was through action or just through my own thoughts and feelings. There, I couldn't be so flippant, and I was for a little while, and then I would try and blame my intuition for not, like almost like it should have warned me or something when it did.
You just didn't want to hear what it had to say, right?
Yes.
I think that's I think that's valid. I think a lot of people have probably felt like, no, no, I don't want it. So like it's not going to happen. Even though we all know that actions, it's the actions we take, the decisions that we make that really affect the trajectory of any time. But it would be simple, like hitting that Staples BZ. But I'm like, no, I don't want that.
I know
Next.
that it can't ever be that way. Maybe we get to some point in our journey where we can do that. Um, I never say never, but I just know, for me personally, usually if I there's going to be some sort of, and there have been times where I didn't even have to take action. It was a matter of me going inside myself and changing the way I thought about somebody, or
Mm.
changing the way I thought about the situation. I realize I'm having a conversation with this person in my head, and I keep seeing them do this, and I keep seeing them act this way, and I'm going, well, why, when it's happening, I'm going, why do they keep doing that? Well, because every time I think about it in my head, I'm I'm actually cultivating them acting that way. And so it was a matter of me being able to consciously think that they were capable of being different in order to change the situation. So sometimes it isn't necessarily you have to go into an action mode. Sometimes it's about doing something inside yourself to change the way you see it and the way you perceive it. Because what we have going on in here is ultimately what's going to be, reflected in our outward experience.
Yeah. See, the problem that yeah, I know that's true. I very valid. I completely agree with it. The problem that I have with it is that I have way too many thoughts. And that's why I think sometimes I am stagnant or feel stagnant is because I'm not allowing myself any room to breathe mentally. Like so there's a lot that I'm constantly thinking. So I feel like life could look messy on the outside because of that sometimes. So yeah, trying to definitely not overthink things. Or a big one lately, don't take things personal. Like
Well,
I didn't realize how much I did that. So
personal, that was a big thing for me early on, and I can say I feel like, wow, I've come a long way with that.
It's great. It's great. Can't wait to get there.
That was it was thinking about how I used to be and how personally I would take everything. It was not a fun time. But the now I kind of just got distracted from the other thing I was going to say because I'm reliving some of those experiences.
I'm sorry,
Um,
I did not mean to trigger any PTSD.
um, so yeah, maybe we'll just move on because now I can't seem to remember.
No, that's fine. Plus, apparently we've already been chatting for 45 minutes, and I'm like, what the fuck? Okay, let me get another question in before we'll have to say goodbye to anybody. Now I'm like, now I gotta pick like something because it's like might be the final question. Uh, how do you know you're actually changing versus just thinking about changing?
Um, I think a big thing for me that shows me that I'm changing is the way I react to life, the
Hmm.
way I react to things. So, um, I can very clearly, just like we were just talking about taking things personally, I can very clearly look at how I react to somebody saying something, um, versus how I would have reacted to them saying it years ago. Like years ago, they could have said a certain thing, and I would have ruminated on this, wondering, why they don't like me, what I did wrong, if they like me, what, why, why do people reject me? Why do they treat me that way? Just all these different things, and feel like, um, they acted that way because of something I did, or because they didn't like me. A lot of it was rooted in because they don't like me. Um,
Same.
uh, now, now when people act a certain way or do something that years ago I would have taken personally, I, j- I just don't react. It doesn't really phase me. It's more like I understand that they own stuff going on, and even if they like actually speak to me in a way where they're personalizing it to me, even if it comes down to the point that they're like, you are, you know I I've talked about this on one other live, that there's like one person in my life that I have a challenge with, and they have, a narcissistic abusive personality. And so I I don't go into their realm often because of that. But if by chance we end up in the same physical space, they have a tendency to uh, say very, negative, mean things to me. And one of the things is they like to tell me that no one likes me, that I can't get along with anybody, and that, just a lot of different things that I now, I mean, like, in the past when that person used to say that stuff to me, it used to like mess with me. And now it's almost like I realize this is like basically an accusation into the mirror. They're saying everything about themselves to me, and I don't take it personally anymore. I can look at it and realize, and
You could tell when people are projecting onto you.
oh, for sure.
Yeah.
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 Where in
Yeah.
the past I couldn't do that at all. I took it so personally, and you know just had to, sometimes I would even like, you know I would conform and change because of those things that they said, because I took it so personally. And now I don't. Now I don't react that way. I have a completely different, like, in fact, I can kind of laugh at it sometimes.
No, good for you because I think that's the ladder that I'm climbing. And I think it's a lot of the things are more within me. I think there's a I've always been uncomfortable to be a mass presenting lesbian, but I've always known that I am. If that makes sense, because I feel like people already judge me before I open my mouth or have expectations of what I'm going to be like or something just by what they see. And
Mhm.
I think that's more of me, right? Like that's what I'm doing. Like that's what I'm doing to myself. Like I'm labeling myself in all the ways that I've heard people label people like me before I looked like me.
Mhm.
Right? Like I had to transition into this. This wasn't just like I was always masculine presented. No, like I used to wear makeup in high school until I got allergic to it, thank the Lord. But I used to be heavily with obviously men and stuff. So it just like there was layers and processes and things because of conforming and wanting to be liked and wanting to be like everybody else apparently. And now I'm like, I don't want to be like anybody. Like I like being me. Like I don't want it to be cookie cuttered. I don't want somebody to feel like I'm, acting in any type of way. Like I just want to be me. And I'm right. And I think it has taken a long time to get there, but I think I still put the judgments on me because I heard it growing up. It was things that were a part of my stuff. So I just, it's taking
Well,
some time, but it's
yeah,
definitely one of the harder things to get through.
things get embedded in our psyche, and that's the whole point of healing and shadow work and all these different things we throw around. It's to be able to see what's really in there, what's really holding us back. And like you, I used to think people were going to judge me, you know, and think certain things towards me. And I see Dr. Jesnil said about not getting along. Let me see if I
Having a
can.
hard time making friends with women.
Yeah, now that was me for a long, long, long time. And so when I would come around people, I would start to feel like they were going to either, they were going to think I was weird. They were going to think I was, and these are all based on things that I heard people say at some time or another, that that I was just trying to get attention, that you know that that I that there was that they were going to think there was something wrong with me, that and with women I would think that they weren't gonna like me, that they were going to, that I couldn't trust them, that that they might stab me in the back. They could be nice to me in my face, but then they wouldn't, actually be nice to me when I wasn't around. And so
Mhm.
I had all these, ideas. And when I would just come around people, I would kind of expect them to treat me that way. And I I got, you know, I had a lot of social anxiety during that time, and I would basically clam up when I was around people because it was easier to just go, to just not show myself, and then and to be able and just kind of like like project that they were going to judge me so that I didn't have to feel the pain of them judging me. So I would like almost like reject and judge myself first so that I didn't have to actually experience it. And
Isn't that crazy though that we do that?
I did that
But
for a very, very long
I
time.
I think I've become self-aware that that's what I actively have been doing to myself, and, like, instead of, like, because even, like, when people are like, "Oh, what you're so nice," or "You're such a light," or, like, whatever, I'm like, "What?" Like, so it's just like, why do I have a hard time thinking, like, the positive version of me, but I'm always holding on to, like, people are looking at me, people are, like, judging me, and, like, so yeah, speaking to my soul, my friend.
So, me, one of the things that I noticed that changed for me, because I honestly, I don't do that anymore. What I just described, I don't, I don't like think that I don't think people are going to treat me badly anymore. I don't, and it's very strange to say because there was like so much time in my life where that was just how I operated. But for me, what really changed it was I stopped being so self-conscious about myself when I'm around people. So it used to be that when I was around people, I was constantly thinking, what do they think of me? I was constantly like concerned about how I was. I mean, anybody who's done a live stream probably can tap into what I'm talking about, because when you do a lot of people, the reason why they don't want to do a live stream is because of that, what I just said. Like, you're thinking about, what are people thinking of me, what are, and then you get on and your heart starts beating. This, I'm pulling this from my first couple live streams, how it felt. It's like my heart
Yeah.
starts beating and I'm like, ah. You're like, you're you're worried about what they're going to see and what they're going to think and all these different things. Well, that was like how I was anytime I was around people. I was always thinking about them, thinking about me. I wasn't thinking about them, I was thinking about them thinking about me, if that makes sense. And then at some point on my spiritual journey, I became so like in love with humanity. I don't know how else to word that, but I became so, I just started to love people so much that when I was around them, I was so focused on them and listening to them and hearing what they were saying, either through their words or through their energy, that I would forget about myself. I
Mm.
would forget. It would, I wouldn't like care. It didn't matter. I didn't care what, I wasn't caring about what they thought of me. And that's really what kind of broke me, of projecting this idea of how people were going to judge me and what they were going to think of me. And so at first it wasn't consciously like I was like, and I'm not going to say anything against affirmations of this sort, like where you do affirmations where you're like, people love me, I'm magnetic. I'm not saying, but I didn't do any of that. I just started to focus so much on other people that I stopped. It really didn't matter to me what they thought of me, because I was just caring about them. And if they didn't like me, it didn't really seem to matter because I was caring about them. And then something shifted at one point. Then at some point, people started saying things to me where they were like, you're, like you said, oh, you shine, you're light, you're this. And it was just kind of like, whoa, like, how did that happen? Because it wasn't anything I like tried to make happen. I didn't try and change it. It just naturally happened once I started investing in other people and caring about them.
That's
So,
a, that, I mean, that's a very interesting perspective provided, because I think it makes sense, right? If I'm more focused on what somebody else is saying or doing, or how they're communicating with me, or listening to what they're sharing, whatever, I don't have time to think about, well, what do they think of me? And I don't think in conversations I do that. I think it's when I first enter a space, right? So
right,
when I first enter the space, I'm like, and then I have to remind myself, it's 2026. Everybody's in their fucking phone. Nobody's even looking at you. Nobody even cares what you're doing. Nobody even knows you're here, pretty much, because they're all in their own fucking world. And then I move on with my day. But it's that first initial moment of entering the space. I'm like, oh, here we go. But thankfully, a lot of my spaces are reoccurring nowadays. So I at least know the people that work there. And they're actually
right,
happy to see me because I'm nice. So it's like there's a comfortability now, because there's uh like an unspoken formed connection between two people, because we take up space at the same time and do consistent situations. So there's like a comfortability there because of that. So that has helped. That has definitely helped. But yeah, I don't think when people talk to me, I don't think I think about what they're thinking about. Like, if they're talking to me, they obviously like me, duh. Like, duh, so that's what I'm thinking now. Like, obviously Christina likes me, otherwise she wouldn't be doing this stuff.
well, that's good. I'm glad you realized that. No, but there was a time in my life where I would be having this conversation with you, and when you were talking, I wouldn't be necessarily hearing what you were saying. I would be worried about what you were thinking about me. That's what would be
Yeah,
going on.
That's a very uncomfortable space. I also, again, not that it makes a difference, but a lot of my life, I've heard that people have these conceptions or realities about what Leos are because they're very into their horoscopes, right? So I want everybody to know that me and Christina are proud Leo women. I love lionesses. They're badasses. Look them up if you don't know. And I think we're both in a very special place to be able to be vulnerable and not be like, no, we never wanted attention. Actually, the attention made us uncomfortable. But now that, I can't speak for for me per se, but it's trying to step into an energy where, yeah, I am proud to be me because you should be proud to be you because we're all humans having an experience, right? And trying to make connections and learn things. So why wouldn't I be proud of the way that I've shown up in this space?
Hmm.
Why wouldn't, like, my confidence would radiate positivity for anybody else in that room? So why wouldn't I show up that way? Sometimes you need somebody that can break the ice, that can make things comfortable, that can make other people feel comfortable, and sometimes that's us.
Yeah.
And we don't mind doing it sometimes. So
Right.
what?
Right.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, I think people got in my head a lot too. Like, oh, you're a Leo. Like, ooh, you're the center of attention. I'm like, I didn't even have a sweet 16. What are you talking about? Like, I don't want attention. Nobody. No, I don't want anybody looking at me. God damn it. But anyways, I just had the little rant there because this is us being honest and true. Like, these were places that we were actually at. These are mental states that we were while you guys are judging us, thinking, oh, look at them. Oh, look at them. Like, this is what we were really thinking. Fun fact. So that's why it's important to love humans in a way that you're not judging them or having expectations of them to be a certain way without actually getting to know them.
Right. I think as far as the attention, I that I mean everybody wants some sort of attention. No one wants to be like ignored, but the idea of being the center of attention, I was always comfortable performing. Like I was always comfortable from a very young age. I got up on stage the first time when I was 3 and I loved it. And so I did a lot of performing. I've all sorts of performing, dancing, acting, singing, you know, I don't know. I preached for a long time. I mean, like I've been up on stages, been the center of it.
So the next time you come back, we're having a talent show, is what you're saying? No, just kidding. Just kidding. Keep going. But yes, keep going.
So I was always comfortable with that, and it seemed like people were always comfortable with me getting attention in that form.
Hmm.
What my surroundings seemed to be more upset over and feel like they were pointing the finger at me was like in day-to-day activities, like you just walking down the hallways at school or something. Like I was always accused of wanting to get attention, and part of that stems from the fact that, and I've talked about this other places, I enjoy um I especially when I was younger, I enjoyed pushing people off script. And
Hmm.
what I mean by that is, and Ira, I can't remember his whole
Angel.
name.
Yeah.
The one who he does poetry, and he did radio. He was a DJ for a long time. I can't think of his whole thing, but he brought up the word. It's a Native American word. I'm gonna totally butcher this, like Hayakon or something like that, but it means um the contrarian
Hmm.
or sacred clown. And he basically, when I described what I did, he said that's how I was, what I was enacting in my life, what I was embodying. And from a young age I became aware that people, well, I wasn't sure if they were robots. I thought maybe I was the only person that had a brain. I'm not joking. Like
No, I think
I
I think you touched a little bit on this in the first one too. Yeah, I
Right.
think. Yeah.
So I like to do things that would make people go, like, kind of push them off script. And it wasn't that I was doing it because I wanted to be the center of attention. I was more doing it because I almost felt like I was doing a service to society
Like, are
to
they a robot? Not a robot?
this is good for you to see something different in your world, to maybe make you think outside of the box. So like I would, you know, do weird things. Like it started in my own family. Like I would eat ice cream with a fork, or I would sit on the kitchen floor and read a book instead of, on the couch or in my bed or wherever. I would do these weird things. I wore like when I was at home, I always wore my clothes inside out and backwards. Like I just not I mean not always, I just wouldn't pay attention. So I would just throw my clothes on, and a lot of times they would end up inside out and backwards. And I would do it because my family would be like, "What are you doing? Why are you doing that?" And but it made them like, because I don't know, it made them go off their automated like robot mode. And so I continued to do this, and like it kind of culminated in high school where I had a very unique style of dress, a very unique style of makeup. I don't wear makeup anymore, but man, I used to be really into makeup back then. And and I would also just do really weird things. Like I dressed up as a clown in full clown makeup and went to school like that. And it was just a normal day. It was not Spirit Week. It was not like, dress up as your favorite character day or whatever. I just did this on a normal day. And so this was the reason why people would be like, you just want attention. And I was comfortable with the attention because it meant that I was like doing something. It meant that I was like challenging them. Back then, I didn't know how to articulate that. I just felt like compelled to do these things. But that caused a lot of people to, say things about me. And then eventually, and I didn't know this at the time, I was wearing, I cultivated my own style, and I didn't do what was popular. And I would wear clothes and makeup that I used to think I was like really ugly. And so I didn't realize that wasn't. I didn't realize that I was attracting attention from the opposite sex, and that was like, you know, that would make other women feel like I was just trying to get attention. And um but now I look back on it and I'm like, well, so what if I was? Weren't you? Why were you mad that I was doing that? Because you want, so now I see like, or like, why should I even be feel bad about something that you everybody's actually kind of doing anyway? Like why am I feeling like I should hide or shrink away? And when you guys aren't, but for some reason I'm supposed to, um so I guess I'm saying all that to say that I was comfortable with attention if it meant that I was like challenging people.
Hmm.
And I still am comfortable with attention if it means I'm challenging people.
What's funny is I feel like I got out of my car at one point today and I was like, I love when I like make people uncomfortable or something. I said something like that because now that's me like trying to, I guess, in my weird way, trying to turn the thing where it's like, no, I like that, you know, you're intrigued by me, that you're confused by me, that you don't understand me. I like that. Because I
Hmm.
don't want to be that easily ridden. I don't know how to say that. But you know what I'm saying? Like, so I actually have a lot of respect for you as that young child to do all those things because I don't think that was not me. That was not me at all. It was very much more like conform and try to act and be and look to the best of your abilities because you know you really can't. And being the only Hispanic in my area, like literally, everybody else is like Irish and other things, and they have the pretty blonde hair and the cool blue or green eyes, and I'm over here like, hi, brown on brown, like on brown, like so it was just like I already knew that I stood out, so it's like no, I have to like go do all the things, like I have to like the best of my ability, and now I'm like I don't want to be anything like that. Like I don't. I am so glad that I had that experience, that I have learned from it, and now I'm in a different place, knowing that my way forward is just going to be different, and I'm okay with that.
Mm. My husband was a lot like you when he was growing up, because I'll talk about my experiences and he's like, I was not like that. He tried to conform, he tried to do,
Just fit in. Like, I just want to fit in. I don't want the extra attention. I don't want anybody thinking. But because I was always so communicative with men, because I had so many similar interests, like, I like all the things they like, I was
right,
flirting with everybody's dude. Like, I was the
right,
biggest hoe, apparently. Like, I wanted all the boys. Surprise, surprise, I'm a lesbian. But, like, that was their assumption. I was like, I'm just having a conversation. Like, that's what I had to deal with on a daily basis. I go out with my friends. Everything's supposed to be cool. I'm bouncing around having conversations with different guys because they're my friends. And apparently, oh, you just want everybody. Wait, what? Oh, people. And so what if I do? So what if I was? Like to your point, like, what does that
right,
mean? Why are you mad? That
right.
that's what the energy I needed at those days, but I was just like, ooh, let me not talk to anybody, you know.
I had similar experience because I had a lot of, guy friends, and um there was definite times where I would get that type of, like I was just trying to, get get their attention. The thing was, I thought I was ugly, so I never thought I had a chance with any of these guys. So it
But
was
they
like,
didn't know. But they didn't know that. That's the thing. To your point,
no,
that's why people should be nicer to more people because you don't know what somebody's thinking or feeling or actually going through. Like that's literally just the sum of it all right there. But
right,
Jesus, I wanted to let you know my phone might die. But
okay,
I so finish your thought. But I just wanted to let you know my phone might die.
okay. I think I maybe did finish my thought. I'm not sure.
I'm sorry. Well, that's because I really interrupted. My bad. I have a tendency to sometimes do that when I get excited about what somebody's saying. So I apologize. But I have thoroughly, as always, enjoyed having a conversation with you. I think I have a better. I also think I have a better understanding of maybe the direction I'm going into, and there is a weird comfort in knowing that somebody else has had a similar path as mine, even if they took different steps. Um, because I think it makes again this more human. I love that Dr. Gensel was communicating about the hourglass figure and the perfect rear end. I never had an hourglass figure, but I am Puerto Rican, so I have a nice big booty, and that got me a lot of attention, and I did not like it. And anybody that thinks that that's like I don't think I don't look at women and I'm like, oh, she must love the attention because look at her butt because I think it gets a lot. So I respect that you're like, yeah, this is not really what it is. So thanks. you know.
I I have I when it comes to getting like male attention, I think, like, I've definitely gotten, good male attention where it's not like all, but I've definitely gotten my fair share of, you know, n- the the grope, people. I remember one time on Venice Beach, like, not just one time, multiple times on Venice Beach where things happened, where it was just like one time these two guys were riding bicycles and they rode by and they both like slapped me on my butt, and I'm just like, whoa, like, and I couldn't even do anything about it because they were on bikes and they were gone, I
Oh
couldn't
yeah.
and I did, I didn't just like, but they were gone. I was never one to just like, no, I shouldn't say there was a time when I would get that type of attention and I would shrink and almost like not know how to handle it. And I would later feel complicit, like almost like I should have tried to stop it, but I didn't know how.
Yeah.
And then later on in life, I became more empowered to where I would, fight back or say something. I didn't just let it, you know but I don't think that's easy by any means to do that. But I will say that I feel things have shifted, at a certain point for me to where um I don't feel like I get a lot of negative attention. I mean, I I I don't like try and get male attention. I mean, I've been married for over 25 years. I'm not like out there on the prowl or anything. But I still, like, the other day, some I was going to the grocery store, and I mean, I was just like, whatever dress, whatever, and normal, I wear dresses and skirts a lot and stuff, and I am not like the perfect, I'm not like a model or anything like that, but you don't have to be for to get male attention or anything. And this guy, he started talking to me, and he was nice, and I'm friendly. I'm not the type to just like be like, oh, I don't know. I talk to strangers all the time, and usually it's just a friendly kind of thing. I just kind of thought this was a friendly kind of thing. I didn't stop and talk to him. I kept walking into the store. I kept going about my business, but I was nice, and then when I got out, there was on my windshield, there was like this note from him, and he had like basically like left this note and said all this nice stuff and left his phone number and said he wanted to ask me out, but I never came out of the store, and like cuz I was in there doing a lot of grocery shopping. I was in there for a while, and so like stuff like that will still happen, but I don't usually get I almost feel like I put up enough of an energy barrier that they don't, like, when I was younger, it seemed like they felt like I was more like up for grabs or something. Like they felt like they could um I don't know how to explain it, but now when I do get male attention, it's usually much more, you know, I don't think the word is really gentlemanly, but it's not like, they're yelling,
They're
lewd
not
things.
pursuing aggressively. They're not trying
Yeah,
to howl
yeah,
their third dollar or anything. They're not, they're respectful to a point.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
I get that. And I'm glad that that is your experience though, because it is uncomfortable, especially and again, I think what I would take it as is, oh, there's another person who has experienced something towards the way that I might be. Cool. Doesn't mean
Right.
that I might feel that same way back. Like it's just cool. Like
Well,
you know, whether you're married or not, whether you're 22 or 82, like you're still probably going to arousal somebody along the way, and that's
well,
really not like your problem.
a lot of it has to do with our energy more than the way we look. I mean, at least for me personally, I think my energy gives something off that does make certain people like more attracted to me, and they don't necessarily know, like, oh, they just automatically think it's because that's how they relate to feeling that way. And
Yeah.
but it's not just with males. Like, honestly, during that same time where I was talking about where I would have more aggressive male attention, I would get females could get aggressive with me too. I've had, and I've, been I'm not straight. I'm pan. I'm open to anybody, whatever they are. I've always, just who you
You
are
were
as a person.
pansexual before that was a thing? That's
I
amazing.
didn't know. I didn't know what to call it for a long
Yeah.
time. Yeah.
Until somebody said, "Hey, this is what we're calling these people. They like everything." But you just happen to be in a heterosexual relationship. Yeah. But I mean, and
Exactly.
that's hard for a lot of people to understand. So
It is. It is. And so because of that, I somehow feel like I was inviting both because I was open to both. And females can be just as aggressive as males. I've had some females kind of like throw me off with how, like, whoa.
they must have
So
spent too much time next to the males. That's what I say. Because I mean, or never got hit on males, like what we call the golden star lesbians. And their thing is like they like going predominantly after women that they probably wouldn't normally get. But I feel like those are a little bit more aggressive because they have that very masculine demeanor of game, I should say, where it's very straightforward. It's very nice in your face. Like you don't have to worry. Like oh they like me, you know. And I'm sure that could be uncomfortable too. I'm not that way. Not that way. I'm very oh wait, you like me? Oh, now that I know, I'll make conversation a little bit different. But I definitely don't move that way. Not that you were wondering, but just thought I'd say that. uh
I didn't know, I don't know I'm still not one to know a lot of the terminology because I feel my way through life. So a lot of times I just
Probably better off. I think that's probably better off. That's kind of I just want to be what Monica Geller would say, breezy. I just want to be breezy. um, but I don't want this to end without me having a proper goodbye, and I'm afraid my phone is going to die. So I just wanted
okay.
to thank everybody that is in the chat. Obviously, thank you, Christina, for saying yes a second time, and I will have this out probably tomorrow at some point for everybody if whoever missed it or anything like that. Um, but it has truly been an honor to be able to sit in your space again. So thank you very much for joining me today.
Well, thank you for having me. This has been a wonderful time, and I really love being here.
Awesome, because you know you're always welcome. Okay. All right. With that being said, you've been in the inner room where the conversations go deep, the connections surprise, and the truths linger long after the world quiets down. Until next time, keep listening inward because that's where the stories that shape us really live. And if you want to continue this conversation, tomorrow there will be a companion journal prompt post that you can also read with this. So I hope you all have an amazing day. I'm going to have a great night because it's almost 8 o'clock here. So I adore you all, you beautiful humans. Thank you again. Have a good day, guys. Bye.
Bye.